No,
This
for recording,
conference
but
will now be recorded.
I just wanted to ask Simi before we got started.
This
Simi, can
conference
you?
will now be recorded.
Perfect, thank you. So for everyone in the audience, welcome and thank you for joining us. I just wanted to point out to you the exits, as you may see, to your right or to your left. We at any time can certainly declare a pecuniary interest. So you can either declare your pecuniary interest now or wait until that time in the meeting where that comes. Our first order of business, we will approve the agenda. So I would look to someone for bringing that forward. John?
I'll second.
And Dave will second.
I'll second.
Thank you. And we will also look to approve, Fred?
Madam Chair, can you just call the vote on that for me?
Oh, yes. All in favor, sorry? Great, thank you. Thanks, Fred. And we will look to approve the previous minutes. Can someone bring that forward? John, thank you. Second? Seconded by Will. All in favor? Thank you. And we'll come to our first order of business, which is the report brought to us from Fred, where they are looking to implement the Committee of Adjustment rules and procedures. I am certainly open to format, but wanted to, especially as we have 3 new members, bring to your attention, if you've all gone over this information, I have marked up my copy, and what I think I will do is I'll just go through some of the questions and things that I wanted to bring forward in terms of these, and then we'll open it up to each committee member to bring forward any comments, questions, or thoughts that you may have. So when I look at these, when I turn to page 4 of 13, under section 4, pre-meeting review of files, under 4.1, so it does state prior to the meeting, the secretary, treasurer, et cetera, shall provide the members with packages relating to, and that is going to be a housekeeping item. But I also think that there should be some tightening of that paragraph in terms of how and specify the number of days before the meeting that we should receive those packages and or notice of those packages, just so we have consistency. In 4.2, I also would say that, I did want to ask the question if the new members have been issued their Committee of Adjustment ID in the event that they attend a property, that they can be identified. And then another question was whether the applicants are also apprised of the fact that they could potentially have up to 5 committee members attending their property. 4.3, actually skip that. I will go down to the next section, quorum. 5.1, the committee is comprised of 5 members with 3 members constituting a quorum. I think we need to add some language that would also stipulate, whilst the committee is 5, if there are less than 5 members attending, do you still require a 3-person quorum? You do? Okay.
So yes, the quorum is based on the number of members, not the number of members attending.
Okay, perfect.
The number that constitutes a quorum, sorry. To be
Perfect.
specific.
And 5.2, members shall notify secretary, as soon as they're aware that the member will be absent. I just wanted to make sure that that information is also shared with the committee ahead of time, just to ensure that if someone will be absent, it just makes us all mindful that there is somebody not in attendance. Exactly, so we can maintain quorum.
Okay, so something along the lines that the treasurer secretary will then endeavor to ensure to inform the rest of the committee?
To notify the committee who will not be there in attendance. This is addressed a little bit later, but just wondering how to address in 5.4 when it talks about the chair shall be counted in determining a quorum, etc. If the chair is not in attendance, we should also state, I guess, there, I know it does pull that in later on, but just to assure that that process is followed.
So the word chair is defined in the beginning.
It is.
So the definition of chair, I don't think needs to be expanded in that section
Okay.
because it's predefined earlier.
As
in
long as the
document.
temporary person is
Yeah.
appointed at some point.
Yeah, so the definition of chair says the chair of the committee as elected by the members pursuant to the Planning Act. But like you say, it then goes on to state that if the chair is absent, there has to be a chair
Yes.
to conduct the meeting.
So that it would be, a temporary would be for that meeting, appointed for that time. And as I said, I know it picks it up later. I just wanted to make sure it was
Okay.
clarified throughout the document that we're still on the same page. And if the definition is enough, then that's fine. 6, so in 6.1, I just wanted to also clarify, it does say that should someone raise a conflict of interest, I wanted to also outline whether that person, it does say they can hear the meeting, but can they stay as a part of the meeting, or do they have to leave that portion of the meeting?
Yeah, so the rules in the Municipal Act
Mhm.
state that the person does not have to leave the room unless it's in camera.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, and then but those rules, so perhaps a line that mentions, per the rules as defined in the Municipal Act would clarify that.
Yes, thank you. And I wanted to, when we start getting into 7.4, meeting location, including virtual meetings, prior to the lockdowns, we did not record the meetings because they were all in person. So I'm just curious in terms of having the committee and or pieces or people outside of the meeting being virtual, should we record who was in person or who was virtual? And then the other question is, should these meetings be recorded?
So whether they should be recorded, the staff is of the opinion we like having them recorded,
Mhm.
right? I think we need to leave some flexibility for the future. I like the idea they're recorded, but if we put it in writing that they have to be recorded and we can't for technical reasons,
Exactly.
you're hamstrung then.
That's
You
right.
can't hold the meeting. I don't know if there's specific wording though that the committee wants to think that might
Mhm.
further expand on that, but that's why it's a bit vague, is to
Okay.
leave some flexibility.
That makes sense. And I certainly agree with you. I think we should then also just make note of who was in person and or who was virtual.
And that I've made a note of, to add that. Anyone who attends, to record anyone who attends virtually.
And we
Thank you.
can skip to page 8, number 10, points of order. So when I look at points of order, whilst we certainly already follow them, my question is, should this document not be brought in and or acceptable to the committee, what formal, are we just literally following through the Planning Act and the Municipal Act and obviously extracting those rules of order on an informal basis?
No, I think the committee would then be falling back on council's procedure bylaw, which is a little more detailed than what I've suggested here. So it has a larger number of types of motions and points of order.
Mhm.
So it's in greater detail in that document. And that's what the committee would fall back to as the next level of guidance.
So then why not just reference it here? That pretty much covers it.
We can, but this is a simplified version, right? So if we state you're going to follow the procedures in section 5 of the county, then those are greater detail than what I've put here, and slightly more complex than what I've put here.
Huh.
So that's why. And what I'm recommending is what I have spoken to this committee and other committees about as sort of the basic procedure for addressing points of order. And
Mhm.
that's what I've put in here, which is the guidance I've given committees in the past, but it's never been documented like this in a
Mhm.
set of procedures. It's always just been guidance from my office.
And so should these not be acceptable to the committee, would you then bring forward a different process that you would expect us to follow? So you were saying there's a more comprehensive version that you felt that we would have to follow. Would that then come to us as the same sort of document?
Yeah, if the committee finds a concern or issue with this, we'd have to work on some alternate. And I would probably start with what's in the council procedure bylaw, and then maybe make some recommendations. But something at some point has to go into that section, whether it's these paragraphs or something else.
So should this not be acceptable also to the committee, are you saying then that there is a form that we will have to accept? Is that the direction, or what is the intent, I
Yeah,
guess?
the intent is to have a set of procedures and guidelines that are robust enough to last hopefully for years without having to be edited, and that future committees can refer to as a set of guidelines to assist them in managing the meetings. Right? So they need to be enough rules that everybody knows what the ground rules are without having to refer to other documents. That's the goal, is that here's your set of rules. This is how this committee, not just this term, but in future terms, is going to conduct its business. And you only each need to have to know this one document.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I needed to, was the intent. Those were my outlined, I guess, questions and or potential thoughts. I will just start. I'll look to my right to Will if you want to start, if you have questions or thoughts you want to share.
After reviewing it, I didn't really see anything pop out to me, but I do like the suggestions you've mentioned.
Great, thank you. Jim?
I agree with your comments. I do have a question though on 6.1. Is there any advantage of disclosing your conflict of interest prior to the meeting as opposed to right there and then?
The Municipal Act states that it must be done during the meeting. It can be done, as pointed out by the chair, either at the beginning of the meeting or at any time during the meeting. That's wording straight out of the Municipal Act. And that is so that it's recorded publicly to everyone who's in the room or watching the meeting.
I'm good.
Perfect, thank you. I'll turn it over to John.
I have nothing further to add.
Great, thank you. Dave?
So you brought up some excellent points. Do you want to go back through and just discuss each one? They're all good. Or were you making the points to Fred?
I think I would look at them mostly primarily as revisions or like some additional information just to add some clarity. We
Yeah,
can go
they're all
through them
good.
if you like, but
I think what you covered is good.
Do you want me to go through the quick notes that I've made? Because based on those, I'm going to bring back a
Yeah,
revised
that's
version.
what I thought. Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've written down in section 4.1, we want to add some kind of indication of how far in advance, right?
What's the cutoff for applications to hit a committee? Isn't it 2 weeks? If it's not within that window, it gets pushed to the next?
To cut off to get it to the committee?
Like an application coming in for the committee to review.
Well, it's got to have the Planning Act specified number of days to be put up notice,
Mhm.
right? And that varies depending on the type of application.
Right.
So we have to have a complete application in time that we can then
Published.
make the, do the circulation, right? And ask the applicant to make a sign and have a reasonable time for them to make a sign and put that up. So we aim for 20 days
Okay. that's what I was
as minimum time in advance to get public notice out.
Because
Now,
we've had,
that's not the agenda. That's notice to the public that there is a meeting. And we like to have all the paperwork on the application in by that time.
we've had last minute applications that we've heard. That's why I was wondering, where's the window?
Yeah, so
As long as we
there
get
could
the
be.
information, that's
Yeah.
fine. But is there a
I'm,
minimum?
I'm gonna, discuss it with the CAO and the treasurer secretary. I'm thinking 7 to 10 days in that range,
Which would be reasonable.
right? Because that's what we're aiming to get the agenda published anyways. And to not duplicate the treasurer secretary's work. We did it all at the same time.
Perfect.
So if we said 10 days, that gives Simi 7 to get it to us.
Yeah, I would like say, well, let us work on that and make a recommendation. But I'm thinking that window.
That's reasonable.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then there was, there's the question about, does the applicant know that members of the committee might be visiting? I don't know if that is in our procedure to ensure that they're aware of that. So I will look into that and find out if we've been doing that or not.
Perfect.
It's a bit beyond what my role has been to date.
Well, the other half was ID.
Yes, and then you
ID
mentioned
tag.
ID. I wasn't aware. Do you
do.
have ID?
We do.
Oh,
yeah.
so Mr. Dahmer has prepared ID for you.
Yes, he
Then
has.
he will do it for the rest of you. You don't have it because I didn't know that.
Perfect.
Good. Cool. 5, 10.
Anything, Mike, to add?
No, I think it's definitely something, and if we're talking about a rear yard setback
Mhm.
at the back of 100 acres, with during deer season, even better, right? But if,
Yeah.
like the attendance of the members at a property, definitely something we should look into and see if there's a notification process to the applicant. Which, if they are making minor variances, they have to be aware that some of them may trigger a curiosity as to what the intent really is, right?
Just kind of some town liability there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
good question.
I think we'll need to either draft a policy on what members can do in the way of a site visit or include it in this document. For example, you do not have authority to go on someone's property
Exactly.
without permission.
Yep.
Right? So I think we need to either create a policy or include it in this document. So I thank you for bringing that up. Never even dawned on me.
Included in the application because when they're signing it, they're giving consent.
Yeah, there you go.
And you've covered both bases at once.
That could work.
I even think, I know Mike and I have spoken to this outside of meetings, but also even if there is a procedural type of, and it can be very simplified, that's given to the applicant so that they, understand, even if it's timelines, because people think they put an application in, the committee's heard it, I should be able to do this now, where they don't realize that, once you've, fulfilled the conditions, once you've done, and then there's certain other things, and that could be one added to that list, which is, and committee members may want to attend your property to see, this area.
Yeah, those are good points. So I'll work on something to add to this, and then, let's say, we'll have to discuss what the best procedure is to make sure everybody knows how that's going to work.
Perfect, thank you.
Question.
I have a question on that topic. What have you done in the past? How is for the members that have been on the
Show
committee in
up
the
during the
past?
daytime and wear bright colors.
You're listening for dogs, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And hunters and hunting season,
Yeah.
but it depends where the area is too. I have never tranched onto someone's property. If it's at the back, I try to get the information from here if it's obscure. And if it's something I really want to see, I will knock on the person's door, introduce myself, and ask them if I can see it. Even though I know I have consent, I will still apprise and look.
Which strikes me as a prudent way of doing it. All right, then section 5.2, making note that if someone does inform the secretary treasurer, that we will then pass that on to the rest of the committee, so you know in advance.
Mhm.
It was raised about the conflict of interest 6.1, in that much of this is defined in the municipal act. Maybe we have to bring it in, or maybe just state it's in the municipal act, but let me see if I can come up with a recommendation on how to put something in there.
And to your point, Fred, if this is a guide that we're looking to use, I think we should try to make it as friendly as possible versus
Yeah.
having to always look back at a different act or a different place. So sometimes if we just state the obvious, it just makes it a little easier.
And I tend to agree with you. It's, I don't want to make people have to go to 20 places to get the information. Referring to a piece of legislation is always risky when the province can change it at any time. But like I say, I think we'll come up with something that meets the needs, and put that in there. 7.6 was a note to, if anyone attends virtually, then that should be recorded in the minutes that they attended virtually. I think I would recommend that, as opposed to stating, and then the default is if it says nothing, you were in person. That would be my recommendation. Just jumping, because I think we talked about page 10,
10,
but
yeah.
I didn't make any notes on page 10. I think we just spoke about it.
We just spoke about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the changes the committee's looking to come back. I will draft another version of that, get it out to the committee, and then at the next meeting, you can debate it again.
And back to Dave, did you have any other questions or anything that you wanted to raise?
So what you're making is a short form of the procedural bylaw?
Yeah, this is basically, except that as opposed to being a bylaw, the Statutory Powers Procedures Act calls it rules, right? Because you can't pass a bylaw, right?
Yes.
So if it was a bylaw, it would be council. Technically, council can pass a bylaw, but I recommended the council not to do that, but to let the committee draft its own procedures, right? And council was happy with that.
But it states in the procedural bylaw that basically the committee's this committee, COA, is covered under the same items exactly as council.
Right, so this is going to replace the procedure bylaw for this committee. Under the authority of the Statutory Power Procedures Act, this committee can draft its own rules of procedure that it will then be, will adhere to. Right? Other committees don't have that authority to do that, just this committee. Well, police service boards, but boards can, right? So boards have the same act. So even though council's procedure bylaw says it applies to committees and boards, if that board has its own rules, it supplants the council procedure bylaw.
Okay, is there anything specifically changing what acts we are covered by? The Municipal Act and basically the Planning Act?
No, there's a,
Nothing's changed
they
there.
are mentioned in here.
Yeah.
So no,
As
the only
background.
thing is this is stating explicitly that the committee shall follow section 239 of the Municipal Act. That is in this.
Right. Where's the
Okay.
Planning Act?
It does mention, you're still bound by all other legislation, statutory powers, procedures, and Planning Act.
Right.
So you're still bound by those.
Yeah, I see it under planning or under background of the
Background
report.
on the discussion. Yeah.
So I can change that if you've got a better word, if you want a different word other than background. We could call those recitals, if you wish.
Yeah, because it's, like I said, you're kind of duplicating the procedural bylaw, but just making it a little bit more user-friendly.
Right, though we are stipulating something specific to this committee. Right? There are some procedures in here that are specific to this committee.
Okay, just so I understand it, can you point those out?
Oh, there's mention a number of times to secretary treasurer. There's mention to the times that things will be published in advance, right? Not a lot. I get it. It's fairly similar.
Right.
Because the intent isn't to try to radically change how you're doing your business, but to just codify it in a form that is specific to the committee, not generic to the committee, which is the way the council procedure bylaw is, because you don't have your agendas look different, right? Well, technically, the procedure bylaw says they'll be like this, and that the meetings are on this date, right? None of that's been taken out for this document. We're not. It's a much larger, bigger, more complex document, and some of it is not applicable to the committee. So technically, you have to interpret the council procedure bylaw to understand how you're going to run your operations. So this is trying to reduce some of the interpretation.
I'm good
to make
with
it specific.
Korean's additions, so wait for your next draft.
Okay. Which is perfect. The whole idea is to give you a starting point so that you have a point of reference for discussion. And then it's iterative until you're happy.
Perfect, thank you. So unless I have something else, yeah, that's fine too. Okay, so we'll move on then in the agenda. Thank you. And we'll wait for the revised version that will come to us probably next meeting. And when we look at the next item on the agenda, I would open the floor to our members of the gallery if there are any questions, anything that they wish to share at this time. And if you do, please turn your mic on. Introduce yourself with your name and your address, please. You have to have a seat, turn the mic on.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members. My name is Dirk Blyleven. I'm the applicant and owner of the subject property.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. So, failing, I guess, no questions from the gallery, then we will definitely move forward with you are then the minor variance on One Rose Ridge Lane. Perfect. In this, I guess I will open this. This is a proposal for a minor variance from a front yard setback requirement provision of the zoning bylaw 78-141 Rose Ridge Lane in Mono. The applicant is seeking relief from the front yard setback requirement for an auxiliary structure that does not comply with section 5.1 CV, the distance of the front wall of the dwelling unit from the front lot. So I'm not going to repeat any more. I will turn it over to the committee, and we'll start with to my right with Will again. If there are any questions or anything that you wish to discuss about this application.
I didn't really have any questions come to mind after reviewing it, but I'm curious to hear what others have to say.
Fantastic, thank you. Jim?
The square footage is stated in this, but I'm just curious about the dimensions, like in terms of feet and depth and width.
Well, the building, the garage, the dimensions are 24 feet by 24 feet, which I have not converted to metric. However, I think that totals up to 54 meters square, which is 9% of the allowable footage for an accessory building in this zone.
Thank you. I'm good.
Good, thank you, Jim. I'll turn it over to John.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Good evening. So just in reviewing the documentation, I made a couple of notes. Question, it's a single-story garage essentially.
Yes.
It's not there's not a second floor or a secondary dwelling?
No.
Is that an objective in the future?
Not at all.
That's all I have.
Great, thank you, John. I'll turn it over to you, Dave.
I have no questions. It's pretty straightforward.
Fantastic, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, my neighbors are here. And
Oh, wonderful.
I don't know if they wish to speak at all. I think they're here for their own information, basically.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to see. Can you come up to the microphone? Yes, come up to the microphone and push the, because otherwise no one can hear you on the recording.
The Thompsons are neighbors directly to the west of my property.
Perfect. And that's fantastic, because that was one of the questions that I was going to ask you was if you had spoken to your neighbor. So if you can state your name and your address.
Sure. I'm Bonnie Thompson and I'm at 3 Rose Ridge. So we share a border. That's
Fantastic.
one, yes.
And can you give us your thoughts with respect to the
Well,
structure?
their sign is out on the road and I saw the sign and I just thought, I just want to make sure Dirk is not going to block my fabulous view. And I knew he wouldn't, but I just wanted to be sure. Due diligence, right? And so I see he has pictures in his package, and you can see the roof of my house beside his house, and you can see that he's placing the garage like well covered by trees and quite a distance from my house. So I'm very happy, and I'm very happy that he was thinking of us when he made that decision. Yeah.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
And that was my question, because you're also probably the only neighbor close to the border. So that was my question with regards to that. So thank you very much for
Okay,
sharing
thank
that with
you.
us, Bonnie. And other than that, I have no other questions other than I did want to inquire with respect to the minimal distance separation, the garage to Bonnie Thompson's home, and if that has been calculated and if it is suffice.
The distance from the garage to my westerly property boundary is 45 meters.
Mhm.
From their home, it's more like 90 meters.
Okay. I would turn that to Deborah, just to confirm that that complies with anything that we certainly would review.
Can't hear you.
Take off mute.
Sorry. Yeah, this satisfies the side yard setback. There's no concerns there. The only area of non-compliance is the fact that this garage is being placed ahead of the main wall of the main structure.
Fantastic. Thank you, Deborah. I have no further questions, and I would look to the committee if someone could bring this forward as a motion.
If I may, before we do that, Madam Chair, Alexander Planning has indicated that I require relief from 2 elements of the zoning bylaw, and I want to make sure that's covered in your decision.
Okay, through you, Madam Chair. Yes, the 2 sections that you require relief from, let me just get this over another screen so I'm facing the microphone. The 2 sections that you require relief from are both contained in section 5.1, and they both deal with the fact that the garage is in the front of the house. So the first section, 5.1 CV, will permit the accessory garage to have a front yard setback of 25 meters because now you're in front of the main house. And then in addition, section 5.1 D2 specifically allows for a garage in the front yard, not just ahead of the main structure, but in the front yard. So in this case, the final recommendation, as it's shown in my report, is that the application be approved in terms of the variance as you requested, which means basically as long as your new garage is in keeping with the sketch that you provided, you're covered.
Hey, Deborah, could you just clarify that again? It's 5.1 C for Charlie, and then you've got V for Victor beside it.
Let me go
I
back.
couldn't quite hear you clearly.
Okay.
What were the 2 sections?
Okay, and let me go back again. Okay, so the page 3 of the report, I believe, yes, page 3 of the report identifies section 5.1 C like Charlie, B Roman numeral V, so 5, to permit a detached accessory garage to have a front yard setback which is lesser than the front yard setback of the main dwelling. Okay, that's item 1. There's a second provision in the bylaw, 5.1D like donut, Roman numeral 2, II, to allow the garage specifically in a front yard. So immediately in front of the houses. It's an odd sort of way to do things, but it's in the front yard as opposed to being off to the side, but in front of the house, if that makes sense. So it's capturing it in both ways. So we have to give relief in both ways. But regardless, the decision itself doesn't necessarily have to name the sections unless you want it to. It just has to be consistent with the application they filed, which is basically their sketch.
That cover it?
Yes. Thank you.
Fantastic. So as I did mention, we will bring a motion forward. You may find the wording for the motion. Fred has graciously provided the wording that we would use to bring that forward. So I would look to somebody to potentially bring that.
I'll take a stab.
Great, thank you.
I move that we accept the minor variance application AO 225 by Patricia and Dirk Blyleven.
And Blyleven, yes.
Okay, good. Owner of Lot 1, Plan 328, Part Lot 20, known municipally as 1 Rose Ridge Lane, is seeking relief from the front yard setback for an accessory structure that does not comply with Section 5.1C Charlie Roman numeral 5V. The committee has determined that this is a minor variance application. It meets the 4 tests of Section 45 I of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 CP 13, and is approved subject to the following conditions. I'll stop there for a second. Do I have to cover her second section 51D.3, or is that
No.
deemed inclusive? Okay, I'll keep going. And approval is subject to the following conditions: payment in full of any outstanding municipal fees, taxes, and charges prior to any building permit application to the Dufferin County Building Services Department, and that the variance pertains only to the request as submitted with the application.
Thank you for bringing that motion forward. I would look to the committee. Would anyone second that?
Fred's got a
Fred?
question.
Sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair. A slightly revised version of that resolution had been put on desk. So I'm assuming, Mr. Carver, that must have been from yours. The only change was it removed part lot 20 from the legal description.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
this one on the desk.
My apologies for not pointing that out to the committee.
I had the original.
So with that revision that Fred has brought forward, do we have someone on the committee that would support and second that motion? Will, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Well, sir, thank you very much. Everything has been finalized. The town office will certainly support you through the process going forward. Thank you. We'll move on to our next matter. Which is a request for amendment to the notice of decision to create a new severed lot, 633222 Highway 10 in Mono. I would open this up for, you do have representation. Thank you. Can you state, and if you're the representative of, if you can just state where you are from and who you're representing?
Good evening. My name is Wayne Ball. I'm a lawyer for the applicant company. I practice in Orangeville. I live at 38 Hawthorne Road in Mono, my home address.
Wonderful, thank you. So I will turn this over to the committee. I'll shake it up a little bit and I'll start on this side with John. If you had any questions or anything that you wish to ask Mr. Ball on behalf of this.
At this time, I don't have any questions, but as we discuss it, I may come up with some.
Fantastic, thank you. Dave?
So basically, this variance again is housekeeping
Yes.
from the last one.
The application provided that the lot would be created with a right of way, and just through inadvertence, it wasn't included in the written decision. When I spoke to Patricia Sproul Ward, who's the lawyer looking after approving the transfer for the town, she indicated that she would like it to be amended to include that, even though the application said that it would be accessed by the right of way. This is a property that's existed since the 70s. The town used to own it. Used to be a road through to Menorah Park there, and now it's the right of way for this property, and then to access the Nissan dealership, I guess is the property there. So it's really just something that technically was missed when they drafted the decision.
Yeah, no further questions.
Thank you. We'll turn it over to Will.
I mean, after reviewing it, it did kind of seem like housekeeping, something we might have missed in the past, but yeah, I have no further questions.
Fantastic, thank you. Jim?
I don't have any questions.
Fantastic. I also have absolutely no questions. Looks extremely straightforward, and I appreciate you providing the description as well. I will turn it to the floor, and again, there is a motion that we can look to for the wording of this if someone wishes to bring it forward.
I'll volunteer to do that.
Great, thank you, John.
I'm putting forth a motion here at the meeting today to approve the addition of a right-of-way, or I guess the reinstitution of the right-of-way, and I'll read the literature, or sorry, I'll read the description here. So that Mr. Wayne Ball, agent for the owner, has submitted a memorandum outlining the request to change the conditions of the original application B08-23 to create a new severed lot with a right-of-way over the retained lot for access. The committee accepts the planning recommendation in the planning report dated April 24, 2025 by Alexander Planning, Inc., and the conditions of provisional consent for application B08-23 as set out in the notice of decision dated April 3rd, 2024, be amended by adding the following. 7, that the proposed severed lot described as part of the east half of Lot 4, Concession 2, WHS, described as Part 1 on Plan 7R-2911, be created together with a right-of-way at all times and to all persons entitled thereto over the lands described as part of the east half of Lot 4, Concession 2, WHS, described as Part 2 on Plan 7R-2911.
Fantastic. Thank you for bringing that motion forward. Will anyone on the committee support and second that motion?
I will.
Jim, thank you. All in favor? Wonderful. So Mr. Ball, everything has been accepted, and I'm sure you can check in with the township office with respect to the finalization of this application.
Well, thank you, and thank the planner for a good job summarizing. So
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I do not believe we have any other business that we wish to discuss, or do we?
So, Madam Chair, there were 2 matters of administrative housekeeping I'd like to bring to the committee's attention to ask their position on it. The first is, as you know, we've been couriering packages out to the committee. I'd like to ask if everyone actually needs a package courier to them, and if they don't, then we won't expend the expense of couriering them. And if you need a printed copy, and if you don't, we won't print one either. And if you do, but are willing to pick it up from the town office. So 3 options: status quo for each member, printed but pick it up yourself, or stick with strictly an electronic version. So if each person wants to let me know what their position is, we'll do that.
I personally will take a printed copy and pick it up myself from the town office. Jim?
I will print it out myself. I don't require the courier.
Fantastic. Will?
I would prefer it be couriered, but an electronic copy would be fine. I was just curious if we could actually have it printed out here, or would that be not possible?
Yeah, I'm doing
Have it
that.
ahead of time.
I have mine printed. I'm going to have mine printed and I'll pick it up from
Oh,
here.
okay. Yeah, I'd be fine with that too.
So printed and you'll pick it up on yourself?
Sure.
Okay, that works.
Great, thank you. Dave?
As we discussed before, my issue is just when you get diagrams and whatever, seeing it on a screen, it's just not the same as having the hard copy, because I'm still old school. So if an application has anything of that included in it, I prefer to receive a hard copy. Other than that, I'm good with electronic for just Word docs. If that doesn't screw you up.
So do you want it printed? and
Okay,
picked
so
up, or-
how about, yeah, we mail you, and then if you want a couriered one, just let us know. We send a digital one, but if you'd like anything from that sent out, let us know and we will.
Yeah, as long as you get it in advance enough. Sure. That's fine.
Great, thank you. John?
For myself, I'm okay printing it. I don't mind, but I have to admit it is, it's costly, but having the color printout like this one for the garage that we just talked about, it was kind of nice to have that, but I'm okay printing it out. But I guess if I ever wanted something, could I have it couriered or picked up?
I'm not trying to force anyone's
Yeah.
hand on this.
No,
Okay?
I realize it just, couriering things are expensive. We do it every day at the shop, and I know courier costs can add up significantly. And I
Fred
don't,
could drop it off.
pardon me?
Fred could drop it off.
Well, and I think there's flexibility. This
Yeah.
isn't something that's being put in
Yeah.
stone. So if you do elect to take something electronically, you see that there are attachments or things that are too big, maybe reach out to Simi and ask her if
Yeah.
she could print those
That-
and make that
I
arrangement.
guess that's where I was going with it. I'm fine printing it. Email it to me would be, ahead of schedule as far as possible, obviously. And Simi would realize that and get it out as fast as she can. I'm fine with printing it. If I want something in color or a bigger print of something, I can print an 11 by 17, but if something was bigger, then I'll ask.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And your second order?
Staff would ask that the committee appoint acting secretary treasurer. Right now, Simi, of course, fills that role. But if Simi weren't available for any reason, we couldn't hold a meeting, nor could the town couldn't issue or sign any other documents that have to be signed by the secretary treasurer. So we're requesting that both Mr. Dunmore and myself are appointed as acting secretary treasurers for the time being until such time that the town has someone else who can take over that position.
And I would just ask then if you could also implement that into the procedural changes as well in terms of appointing yourselves as just as another amendment to that document as well to ensure that we do have that reliance.
Similar to the chair.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Anyone?
We're just worried if.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
technology-wise, health, somebody gets sick,
Or she wins the lottery.
or she wins the lottery.
That's
There you go,
right.
Simi, go buy a lottery ticket. But yeah, that's
Okay.
where we're headed. So you'll bring
So-
back a.
Yeah, I've made a note of that to put into the definition. But if the committee is prepared to appoint CAO Michael Dunmore and Clerk Fred Simpson as acting secretary treasurer of the committee, you can do that now by resolution, just like I did.
Perfect. Can I have someone bring that forward?
Go for it, Will.
Sorry, I moved to, what was the wording?
That we appoint
Yeah.
CAO Michael Dunmore and Clerk Fred Simpson as acting secretary treasurer.
I move to appoint Michael Dunmore, CAO, and Fred Simpson, clerk, as the new
Acting
acting treasurer.
secretary treasurer.
Secretary treasurer.
Perfect. Do I have a seconder to that? Perfect, Jim. Thank you. All in favor?
So Will and Jim.
Will and Jim.
Great. Everyone is in favor.
I just have one question. One question, is there no secretary treasurer employee on staff currently?
Simi is employed by the town of Mono, but being, for reasons she's virtual.
Oh, I realize that, but she's the secretary treasurer
She's staff.
Of this committee.
of this committee.
This committee.
This is the only committee that has a secretary treasurer as required by the Planning Act.
Okay, so it's not like for the entire town of Mono.
Correct.
I understand now. Okay, so she wasn't available, or the lights are out, or
You guys are
internet's out.
dead in the water.
I get it. Thank you.
Perfect. That concludes our meeting today, and I would ask for someone to adjourn this meeting. Jim?
Can we please adjourn?
Thank you, Jim. Second? John? All in favor? Thank you very much.
Jim and John.
Simi, if
hit
you
the-
can cut the recording of the meeting. Simi.
Simi, are you able to stop the recording? Thanks, Deborah.
She's virtual.
I don't know if she can or not.
I don't know. Guess it's you.